morning, Abby. How are you? Little objects. Hello, Khadijah. You can start with a vocal warm-up. Take a deep breath in and exhale with a tone. Don't forget to mod you. Thank you for the reminder. I will do that right now before we begin. Admin setting, moderators. Okay. Oh gosh. This is frustrating. Admin settings, moderators, add. Alright. You are now a moderator. Good morning. Thanks. I'm glad you like the colors. Yeah, I feel a little bit uncomfortable wearing orange because it's the holy color in the Shivananda tradition. And so, like, it's not, but the Swamis wear all orange. And I think as long as I don't wear all orange, it'll be okay. I've got some pink, I've got some red. I do like the orange very much. You saw me at Bing yesterday. I'm sure you did. Well, welcome to my live stream. It's much the same as what you saw at the university. Hello from the Canary Islands. Well, good morning. Okay. So, we're going to start with a little bit of vocal warm-up. And then we'll move on to prayers. Thank you for the roses. Thank you so much. And take a deep breath in and exhale with a low tone. We can go a little higher. And even higher. Good morning, all. So, where should we begin? Thank you for that heart. Thank you very much. So we can begin with the book of Deuteronomy. Somewhere in this package of papers is the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy takes place, the setting doesn't actually take place, it was written by some old men, but the setting is that the Israelites are wandering through the desert and they are looking for a home. They're looking for a sense of self and identity. And so they talk to Moses, and here's what Moses says. Shema Yisrael Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. ואהבת את ענת אלוהיך ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. So this is Hebrew language. Shalom. I like being on earlier too. I would like to be able to be on earlier more regularly. This makes me feel like I've started my morning, and I like to have feelings like I've started my morning earlier than later. I'm going into the university today, so I need to be out of the house by 11:30. So we've got plenty of time, but I did want to start early. Am I speaking Hebrew? I was speaking Hebrew. I was quoting from the book of Deuteronomy. Then I switched back to English, and now we're going to use English to translate that book a little bit. So what does the Shema mean? Good morning, Candy Bottom. What does the Shema mean? Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Listen, Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Asherah, Echad are one. All these gods are one. They contain one another like a serpent eating its tail. And this is paradoxical, right? It's not actually a metaphysical claim that you can take on and believe in a linear sense, right? It's more of the foundation upon which you might believe other things, right? Yahweh Echad, all is one. Everything around you, everything you've ever experienced, everything you are is unified with everything else. The distinction between yourself and the rest of the world is illusory because all of us are one. Right? That's the concept to meditate upon. And we can't really do much with that other than repeat it, which is why the next part of the prayer, the V'ahavta et Yahweh Elohecha uv'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele. The V'ahavta means repeat me, right? It contains itself, again, like a serpent eating its tail. The V'ahavta says, listen, you shall love Yahweh Eloheinu with all your heart, and with all your might, and with all your soul. And these words, take to heart these words that I am charging upon you today. That's the literal translation. Take to heart these instructions which I charge to you today. The words coming out of my mouth, into my phone, out of your phone, into your ears. This strange kind of physical transmission of selfhood, right? Of concept, of tradition. Take to heart these words and teach them to your children. Teach them to anyone who will listen. And recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, and when you lie down and when you get up. And bind them as a sign upon your hand. A very literal person, you know. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. On your gates. How many of you have heard of a mezuzah? I talk about mezuzahs often, but, you know, audience churns. How many of you have heard of what a mezuzah is? Thank you for all the roses. I can show you a mezuzah. I'll show you a mezuzah right now. Butterflies. Alright, so here's a mezuzah. Right here. This little scroll. Right? Come on. There we are. this contains the words that are written here, the words that I've just repeated to you, right? The scroll contains them. So it's sort of a redundant, it's a prayer that says copy me. And so when you see these symbols on Jewish homes, right, you know what they contain is themselves, like a person containing a genome, right? Of course you have, Abby. You know, I wonder if folks will get tired of hearing me literally say the same stuff. But no, right? Like, I look at this mezuzah every day, I touch it every day, right? Because it reminds me of a living tradition which is much older than me, and which will be here for long after I am gone. And I find that quite comforting, to remind myself that, oh yes, when I say these words, I am embodying, I am making alive a kind of creature, a kind of selfhood, a unified selfhood, an ethnic selfhood, if you will, a cultural selfhood that is beyond me. And I find that comforting, to know that my life is more than just mine, you know. So, there's a little bit more Hebrew that I'd like to share with you today. There are words that come after the V'ahavta in the book of Deuteronomy. Oh, look, fireflies. That's cute. And here's what they sound like. V'chaya, ki v'chaya Elohecha el ha'aretz asher nispai lavotecha le'avram li'yitzchak u'Yaakov latitlach avrim gedolot v'tavot asher lo vanita uvatim mileim kol tiva asher lo mileta uvurot hatzuvim asher lo hasatva ke'arim v'zitim asher lo natata ve'alachta v'shavata hishamer lecha pen tishchach et Yahweh asher tishacha mi'eretz Mitzrayim mi'bet avadim. Why do you pronounce the Tetragrammaton? You've never met a Jew who says it aloud instead of Adonai. That is a fantastic question. Thank you, Candy, for alerting me to that. I love getting that question. It's probably the most important question that I ever get asked. I think there's a very important reason to pronounce the Tetragrammaton. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, Tetragrammaton is Greek for 4 letters. So the 4 letters are Yahweh. So if I look here, Tetragrammaton is written, it's Vav He Yud He, right? Tetragrammaton, 4 letters, Yahweh. So, I think to understand why I pronounce the Tetragrammaton, it's important to understand the history of why it stopped being pronounced. And the reason why it stopped being pronounced is, trauma? Perhaps. I mean, no, it's a metaphysical claim, right? There were priests returning to Jerusalem after a genocide, and when they returned, they had a very strong need to reestablish their faith and reestablish their relationship with God and transform what that concept of God was, right? Because what happened was the Babylonians came, they destroyed the city. And prior to that, Yahweh was a God king, right? He was a Messiah, Mashiach, right? This man sitting on a mountain, enthroned in power, right? And we're talking about Jews, yes. And when the Babylonians came in 586 BC, they destroyed the political power of the original Judean state, right? And when they did that, the concept of God as a king on a mountain, the most important king on the most important mountain, like as a humanoid idea, it was no longer sufficient. It could not be used to explain the kind of trauma that had been brought to the people. So the priests, they created a taboo. And they said, you shall not say the word Yahweh. The only one who is allowed to say the word Yahweh is the high Levitic priest on the Temple Mount, inside the temple, inside the Holy of Holies, on Yom Kippur. Then he can do his special rites and he can say Yahweh, right, the true name of the one God. But otherwise, we have to say things like Hashem or Adonai, right? And This is a very powerful metaphysical trick, right? It makes you, it abstracts the nature of God. God was no longer Yahweh. Like here, let me show you an old picture of Yahweh. This is a picture of Yahweh that was found in Kunlet Arjud 3,000 years ago, right? And the inscription says Yahweh and his Asherah. It makes sense to say the word Yahweh when you're partnering it with the name of another deity, Asherah, because they're different, right? Yahweh is male and Asherah is female, and they have these qualities. And the priests, upon returning from the Babylonian exile, they eliminated Asherah altogether, and Yahweh became something transcendent, something immaterial, something outside of the world, and yet still male. Still they use male pronouns for him, which I find metaphysically perplexing, epistemologically perplexing. I don't think it's good thought, but, they wanted patriarchy, so they kept the male pronouns. So, I say the Tetragrammaton because I want to remind myself that Yahweh is actually just a character, right? That Yahweh came from a polytheistic lineage, a polytheistic root, and there are properties of Yahweh that are better explained as human properties rather than divine properties of an omniscient deity, right? So I say it. I say Yahweh because saying the word Yahweh gives me permission to also say the word Asherah. And here's Asherah, right? Saying the word Yahweh allows me to connect to the prehistory of my tradition. And I think that prehistory is important because without understanding the prehistory, you can't understand what it is today, right? I care very deeply about understanding the root, right? Get to the root of the tree. Well, the root of the tree, you pronounce the word Yahweh, because that's what the people from thousands of years ago did. Yes, however, God has no limits like we do. God is for us people, hence the evolution. Yes, still God. Yes, so the concept of God evolved, right? And it evolved into ancient Judaism, and then modern Judaism, and then Christianity, and then Islam, right? The concept of God has gone through many iterations, and I think there is merit in understanding all of them. I pay attention to the original conceptions of God because I think those original conceptions have been forgotten a little bit. And I think that they can explain things about the world today that talking about an omniscient deity that exists outside of space and time can't actually tell us much about, why do Jews put little prayers in little scrolls like this, things like that. Why is it that the world looks like it is today? Why is there so much trauma and suffering? Well, it's because we've embodied our trauma and suffering into these characters. Maybe we ought to understand them. You've been thinking about this concept a lot lately. Free will. You evolved like a Pokemon. Sure. Sort of. Concept of evolution can be explained in many ways. I wouldn't use Pokemon as a guide, but you can if you wish. Alright, I can't respond to all of these comments right now, otherwise we'll never get done with the prayers. Because this next prayer is a prayer to Yahweh, or this is a thing that Yahweh says. Anthropological stuff. Yes, God is a social construct, right? There's that's maybe one of the deeper premises that I operate on. That God as a character is a social construct, and just like gender or money or the state, right? These are social constructs that can structure the world and structure who we are as individuals. Doesn't mean that they don't exist, but they're social phenomena. They're not supernatural phenomena. So. Let's read this next prayer. It comes after the V'ahavta. Let's read it with an understanding that Yahweh is a social construct. And we can ask, what would this description of Yahweh, right, this threat from Yahweh, tell us about the society that invented him? Yes, God is a character. V'chaya. Ki v'achaya Elohecha, el ha'aretz asher nisbai lavotecha, levram leischach ol Yaakov. לתת לך עברים גדולות ודבות אשר לא בנית, ובתים מלאים כותבה אשר לא מילאת, וברות הצופים אשר לא הסדת, כערים בזיתים אשר לא נתת, והלכת ושבת. הישמר לך פן תשכח את יהוה אשר תישך, מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. Bondage. Avadim is bondage. When Yahweh Eloheinu brings you into land that he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to assign to you, great and flourishing cities that you did not build, houses full of all good things that you did not fill, hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant, and you eat your fill. Take heed that you do not forget Yahweh, the character of Yahweh, who freed you from the land of Egypt. Eretz Mitzrayim mibet avadim, the house of bondage. So, to understand these words, we should remind ourselves of the context in which they were written. So these words were canonized by priests returning to Jerusalem after the Babylonian exile. After they'd experienced this great trauma, they went back and they reinterpreted their origin story. Their origin story about wandering through the desert only to be given a land flowing through milk and honey. Right? And so they were intimately aware of the cycles of conquest that had been ongoing in that landscape for hundreds of years at this point, thousands of years. They were aware. And so they were reminding themselves, they're saying, Yahweh, don't forget this. They have Yahweh tell them, don't forget that when you are brought into this land of milk and honey, when you are brought into the land that I swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to assign to you, great and flourishing cities that you did not build, houses full of all good things that you did not fill, hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant, and you eat your fill. Take heed that you do not forget Yahweh, who freed you from the land of Egypt, the house of bondage, right? So they had this myth that once they were slaves and then they were returned to the land of Israel. And then they have this living history that the people who wrote these words were remembering, where their parents were killed by the Babylonians. Their grandparents were killed by the Babylonians, and they were sent off into exile, only to have a generation or two later to return to the land of Israel to find that there were people there who they had to reclaim their land from. They had to steal their land back. Right? The story of Ezra is literally a story about stealing the land back. So, it's this reminder of this cycle. Hey, the land is stolen. Like Palestinians, yes. Like Palestinians, exactly. The history repeats. Where in the Torah is this? This is in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, lines 10 through 15. It's the only part of the book of Deuteronomy that I can quote to that level of accuracy, but I think it's very important, right? Because it's aware in this old book, they're aware that the land is occupied, they're aware that land is stolen. And I just think that's so important. And I think many modern Zionists aren't actually familiar with that. Like, hey, this book is quite honest with itself from the very beginning that the land has been stolen. And so we can be honest about it too. The land that I live on today used to be Oneida land, right? There were indigenous people here before the white colonists, right? And this is complicated for me because my mother was a refugee, right? My grandparents were Holocaust survivors. Their homes were stolen. And they were able to come here to this colonial state because of the policies that that state produced, right? Some people have their homes stolen. Some steal homes from others. So I live on Oneida land, and I drink every day from a cistern that I did not hew, and I eat from vineyards that I did not plant. Imagine hating being white. Well, I don't hate being white, but I acknowledge my whiteness, right? I acknowledge the role that I am playing now as an occupier and a colonizer, right? I can't not acknowledge that role. To do so would be to be violent to my own identity. So, whose land do you live on? Do you know? Whose land are you occupying right now? Those from Australia are occupying different land than those in North America, but we're all occupying land. We all have inherited a colonial state from our ancestors, from the state that came before this one. God's land. Well, it's all God's land, isn't it? Right? That's the claim. Yahweh can give you this land and he can take it away. Who cares? No one. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, you occupy your land. Amen. You're occupying your land. What about people who live in Europe? Europe was colonized too. You're on Seminole land. All of Europe was colonized. The Romans colonized it. Have you heard about the Gallic Wars? They colonized it too. This land is your land, this land is my land. This land was made for you and me. So, Yahweh is a character, a social construct. You are on the land. Can I pronounce this? Dejan Angmung, the Dejan Angmung people of Australia. You're on their land. I'm glad you know. Colonizer has this negative tone. We were born and given this circumstances, and therefore colonizer. So, I don't think that colonizer must have a negative tone. I don't think so. Obviously, to colonize implies a kind of violence that happened in the past. But I don't want to feel responsible for violence that was perpetrated in my name in the past, right? Like, there were Zionists who stole land from the Palestinians in my name, in the name of their descendants, right? In the name of Jews everywhere land was stolen. And that does make me a colonizer. That does not mean that I am personally a perpetuator of violence. But to deny that I am a colonizer, to deny that that land was not stolen in my name, would be to perpetuate violence. So yes, colonizer does have a negative connotation, but there's suffering in the world. And if we don't acknowledge that suffering, it will continue to persist. She, her garden fairy, yes. So, there are many ways that we can acknowledge that suffering. There are many ways that we can look at it. And the way that I have chosen to look at it in this stream every morning is to look at these characters and try to understand the responsibility that those characters play in that suffering, right? Try to understand God as a social construct, as we were talking about earlier. So, like in the book of Jeremiah is basically processing the Babylonian exile. It's the Aboriginal term for your area. The people are the Bunjalung people. That's great. That's so good. How do I stay so informed? Well, I ask people questions, right? I ask people. I try to learn. I learn from you every day. Did you know that? I ask you questions, you answer me, you teach me, right? I had never heard of the Bunjalung people before this very moment, right? So I stay curious and I learn. So, the book of Jeremiah is this attempt by a character named Jeremiah to process the genocide that was inflicted upon him. And it talks a lot about knowing the character of God, knowing the character of Yahweh. And so I say these next two prayers to Yahweh and to Asherah in order to try to understand their character, not as some sort of ultimate metaphysical truth, but as a kind of social construction. Because their character impacts me. And you'll see how in just a second. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, shelo ashani isha. I repeat the name of Yahweh Eloheinu, who did not make me a woman. Because that is not in his character, to make women. That's why I had to make myself a woman. I think I did a reasonable job at that. Baruch atah Asherah, Anat Malecha ha'olam, asher yitzaret ha'adam b'chachama u'vara ve'o. I repeat the name of Asherah Anat, who made me with many openings and cavities. Yes, that is a really great point, Sophie. The UK was colonized multiple times. The last notable colonization was in 1066 by William the Conqueror. Yes, so William the Conqueror conquered the English island, and then over the course of several hundred years of political development, the colonized became colonizers themselves, right? And that kingdom went on to colonize the world, right? And we see this pattern over and over and over again. Land becomes occupied, it becomes politically consolidated, and then it uses that political consolidation to occupy other land, right? And we can recognize this without needing to identify with it. Just as we can recognize that Yahweh is not a character who would make me a woman, but I can still be one. So, why don't I sing you a modern song about the Babylonian exile? This is one that, it's by Leonard Cohen, right? Who is Yahweh? Yahweh is the ancient god of the Israelites. He looked like this. Yes, you did just hear a rooster. I live on a farm. So this is a song by Leonard Cohen about creation and destruction, and about the Babylonian exile, and how that can create identity. And it goes like this. I came upon a wedding that old families had contrived, with Bethlehem the bridegroom, and Babylon the bride. Oh, great Babylon was trembling, and she stood there naked with me. And Bethlehem inflamed us both like the shy one at some orgy. And when we fell together, all our flesh was like a veil that we had to draw aside to see the serpent eat its tail. Oh, some women wait for Jesus, and some we wait for Cain. So I'll hang upon this altar, and I'll hoist my axe again, and I'll take the one who finds me back to where it all began, back when Jesus was the honeymoon, and Cain was just a man. And we'll read from pleasant Bible that was bound in blood and skin, that Asherah is gathering all her children back again. Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. You gonna stretch?
I'm just gonna be here.
You're just gonna be here. Great. Is it considered taboo to believe in Yahweh today? Some people consider it taboo to say the word Yahweh. Although, I mean, and perhaps it's taboo to, like, believe in a stormy god king who's going to throw lightning bolts at you. I mean, it depends on who you ask. I'm not sure I believe in Yahweh. I just talk about him every day. There's a distinction there. So now we're going to shift into Sanskrit, and I'm going to take off this little orange thing to be a little polite to the tradition that the Sanskrit comes from. And, yeah, so this next prayer is from the Shivananda tradition. Here's the text. It's the Shivananda Dhyana Sloka. This is a prayer that I learned when I was studying pranayama. Pranayama is breath yoga. And this prayer is in Sanskrit. So anyone who asks while I'm reciting it, you can tell them it's in Sanskrit. And it goes like this. Kajananam Buddhaganati Sevitam Kapita Jambupala Sarabakshitam Umasitam Sakabinasakarnam Mahamatim Divyamayura Vahanam Ridasyasinam Sarasananatam Kuham Sadanam Saranam Prapadye Yaku Hendutu Saraharadapala Yasupravasvarita Yavinavaranda Manditakara Yasveta Padmasana Yabramachuta Sankara Pratrapi Devasata Pujita Samampatu Saraswati Bhagavati Nihesa Jadyapaha Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nisparanchaya Santaya Shri Shivanandaya Te Namaha Shri Vishnu Devanandaya Te Namaha Om Sarva Mangla Manglaye Shive Savarta Sadike Saranye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostite Narayani Namostite Om I salute the three-eyed Divine Mother Narayani, who brings auspiciousness to those who repeat her name. Now we will recite the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Because you smoke too, and you'd like to know people's perspectives and experiences, well, Sarah, I can answer that question. When people ask me that question, it makes me a little uncomfortable, because my relationship to marijuana makes me a little uncomfortable, but I also don't want to hide it. I often do smoke in the morning. I didn't smoke this morning, but sometimes I do, perhaps more frequently than I would like. And yes, that experience does impact the way that I experience this stream and experience praying with you all. And I have very mixed feelings about that, because there are elements of it that are absolutely addiction. And, I don't know. It's something I'll be working on for a long time to come, I'm sure. So it's not something that I want to, it's not something that I necessarily want to promote in this space or romanticize. But yes, I do have a relationship with that drug. And it may or may not be similar to yours. Jayambakam yajamahi Sugandim pushje vardhanam Varva Rukami bhavandanan Mrityur Mukshiyam amritatum Jayambakam yajamahi Sugandim pushje vardhanam Varva Rukami bhavandanan Mrityur Mukshiyam amritatum Sarvesham svastir bhavati sarvesham Shantir bhavati sarvesham Purnam bhavati sarvesham Mangalam bhavatu Sarve bhavantu sukhina Sarve santu niramaya Sarve bhadrani pashantu Makashid dukhabhag bhave Asatoma sadgamaya Tamasoma jyotir gamaya Mrityur mamritam gamaya Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Peace Peace Peace. This outer world is full. This one full of TikToks. This inner world is also full. This one full of thoughts. Very full. From fullness comes fullness. Taking fullness from fullness, fullness remains, like a serpent that leaves its tail. Lose the letter R. You don't pronounce it like that. It needs to be a hard R. What word? What word am I mispronouncing? I'm sure my pronunciation is terrible, because I'm not a native Sanskrit speaker, right? I've got a thick English accent. What word are you referring to? I'd love to speak it better. All words. You just don't like my accent. Well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna speak the way that I speak. I'm gonna speak English the way that I speak English. I think I can speak English however the hell I want.
Wait, they're not saying that you're Sanskrit, sir? They're saying you're English?
Apparently they don't like the way I pronounce my R's. Well, I'm sorry, that's your problem. In English. Yeah.
What is a hard R as opposed to your R?
Pak the Khan Harvard Yad? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes trolls will get you. Sometimes you think they're being thoughtful and they're actually not. And that's the game that they play.
Okay.
So now we're gonna do a prayer by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. Because it's in English and y'all can understand it and I can understand it. And this is a prayer about prayer. And often when I say this prayer, I like to ask you to respond. Because, we're doing it. You're going? Okay. Well, I'll see you later. Bye. Please never change your voice. Well, you may or may not know this, but my voice used to be extremely different. My voice used to sound like this, and I've put quite a lot of work into changing my voice, and I'm going to continue to change it. And I haven't put that much work into changing how I pronounce my R's, because I don't think it matters very much. Yeah, voices are changeable. We can critique them, and we can shift them to sound however we want them to sound. But I think the parameters that I might be using to determine how I want my voice to sound might be different from some of you. So, as I say this next prayer, I would love to hear from you what you think prayer is. And this gets at a sort of deeper curiosity that has been growing in me as I've been doing this on TikTok, as people have been paying attention and we've been sharing this time together. I just have this growing wondering, like, what does this mean to you? Like, what does prayer mean to you? You're not a troll. You swear you were just giving me advice. Sorry if I take it the wrong way. Giving people, particularly giving women, unsolicited advice about their presentation, it's fraught. It's fraught. I mean, I get a lot of unsolicited advice about my presentation. People tell me about my teeth, and about my hair, and about my skin, and, I that's just part of what it is to be a woman on the internet in 2021, let alone a trans woman. But, I understand that you weren't necessarily trying to be troublesome, and maybe you're not troublesome, but it's a little... I don't know how to qualify it. You can think about it as you will, and others of you can think about it however you will. I'm getting distracted. It's time to sing this Edward Sharpe song. I don't want to pray, right? That's the refrain. I don't want to pray, and I don't want to pray, and yet I pray every day. So this is a paradox. You might have noticed that I like paradoxes. Prayer is togetherness and awareness. Yes, so as I sing this song, do let me know what prayer means to you, and what this prayer means to you, and what being here means to you. Because that helps me understand my role in all of this. It helps me a great deal. So, I don't want to pray to my maker, no. I just want to be feeling free. Not just who I am, but the pink and golden land and that wide, wild sky over me. Help me to the sun. Hey, I'm looking everywhere. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer. And I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no, no, no. I don't want to pray. We don't want to pray. Pray. And it's not much good to talk, better to walk it. Ooh, not much good to take, better to give. We are done, forgiven, and forgotten of our sins. And I promise you, my friends, all that dies will live again. So, pardon, God and Mom. What I'm saying isn't fair. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer. And I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no, no, no. I don't want to pray. We don't want to pray. Pray. Allah, Allah made love, and Yahweh, Yahweh made hate. Asher, Asher made good, and Anat made bad. Elohim made love, and Yahweh, Yahweh made hate. Allah, God made, but I don't want to pray to my maker. I just want to be what I see. Not like in a book, or the leaves of trees that shook from a word that means only not a thing. No, no. Pardon, God and Mom, what I'm saying isn't fair. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer. And I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no, no, no. I don't want to pray. We don't want to pray. Pray. Allah made love, and Yahweh, Yahweh made hate. Asher, Asher made good, and Anat made bad. Elohim made love, and Yahweh, Yahweh made hate. Allah, God made me. Why don't I want to pray? It's a very good question. Well, because the word prayer in English for most people, brings associations of gods that make, right? As if I'm praying to Ashura because she made me, right? As if there's some external force out there that I need to supplicate myself to, right? That I need to bow down to in order to get what I want, right? This is a paradigm of prayer that I do not appreciate, right? So I don't want to pray like that. I don't want to say, oh Yahweh, you're so great. You're such a great king. Please don't inflict genocide upon me. Please don't do that. That would be terrible. No, I want to become the prayer, not the prayer, right? No, that's wrong. I want to become the prayer, not the prayer. Not the prayer, but the prayer, right? I want to turn myself into light. I want to become the words that I am speaking, right? And in a certain sense, when I speak these words, I do become them. They get captured into this digital format, saved on the Ethernet, right? And for the rest of time, that recording of me will be prayer, right? So, like, quite literally, when I do this, I'm trying to become prayer. I'm trying to transmute my physical form into light. And maybe that sounds nonsense. Maybe that sounds like woo. I've gotten some confidence in speaking in this way because of people who came before me who also spoke in this way. And I actually don't think that doesn't rely on supernaturalism to say, hey, I'd like to become light, right? Because matter and light are intertwined. They're interchangeable. That's what modern physics tells us, right? And in some very real ways, I can become light. I can become sound, right? I can become these material things that are not quite body, and yet are, right? My body is in your hand right now. You're sitting in your bed or at your desk. You're holding your phone in your hand, or it's mounted on somewhere, right? That's where my body is. I've projected my body out into your home. And I just think that's so fucking incredible. Just like so amazing. I'm a child of God, I should trust God. Sometimes we need to be put in the fire so we become refined. Well, that's good. That reminds me of something I don't repeat very often, but I'd like to repeat that. Story Water by Rumi. Story Water Rumi. This is a very good one. See, I really like it when people throw things in the chat like that, because then I can respond to you. So here's a poem by Rumi. I won't say it every day. I'll say it today. A story is like water that you heat for your bath. It takes messages between the fire and your skin. This little jar. It lets them meet, and it cleans you. Very few can sit down in the middle of fire itself, like a salamander or Abraham. We need intermediaries. A feeling of fullness comes, but it usually takes some bread to bring it. Beauty surrounds us, but we usually need to be walking in a garden to know it. The body itself is a screen to shield and partially reveal the light that's blazing inside your presence. Water, stories, the body. All things we do are mediums that hide and show what's hidden. Study them and enjoy this being washed in a secret we sometimes know, and then not. Fire, light. What is it to be light? To be fire? We're going to do Arati now. Arati. The word Arati in Sanskrit means flame or light. And the refrain for this prayer, Jaya Jaya Arati, we wave the light. What do I know about Islam? This candle is made from lamp oil and an old nasal spray jar. I make things out of trash, did you know? I don't know all that much about Islam. I've prayed in mosques. I do research in Palestine. So I have friends who are Muslim. But I've not read the Quran. I've not seriously engaged in the teachings of Muhammad. One day I would like to. One day. So, right now, this is a Hindu tradition that we're going to be engaging in. The language is Sanskrit. The language is Sanskrit, so when people ask, as they will, please tell them that this is Sanskrit. You can even tell them that it's Arati, a fire prayer from the Shivananda tradition. Here's the fire. Very few can sit down in the middle of the fire itself, like a salamander or Abraham. We need intermediaries. So Jaya Jayarati, we wave the light. And who do we wave the light to? Well, we'll say the names of some gods. We'll say the name Ganesha, right? This god who was sacrificed and then reborn with an elephant head. Every time you listen to me talk, you say you know little about Islam, and then I talk about it like a boss. Well, I'm glad that you think so. I'm sure many Muslims would tell me that I know very little about their tradition. So, it's a fire prayer. We're good. What Christian tradition will I be doing in the future? What Christian tradition? Can I show you a picture? The Christian place that has had the greatest impact on me looks like this. This is Marsaba. This is a place that I've been. This is a monastery in the desert outside of Jerusalem. It's 1,600 years old, with the body of the original saint who founded it buried, entombed in the center in glass. And you can see that body and touch it. This is the kind of Christianity that I want to be engaging in. Castles in the desert. More about that later, perhaps. Allah throws stars at demons when they try to sneak into heaven. 600 years, 1,600 years, 1,700 years old. Yes, it is preserved. Do I believe in God? Well, I think about God a whole lot. That's for sure. Alright. Y'all ask such good questions. We're going to say Arati now. TikTok reminds me at the end of my streams that I should ask you to like this video if you like it, because it benefits the algorithm. So you can do that while we're praying. And the refrain, Jaya Jayarati, we wave the light. Wave the light. So here we go. Here we go. This prayer is in Sanskrit. And it's from the Shivananda Yoga tradition. Jaya Jayarati Vina Vinayaka Vina Vinayaka Shri Ganesha Jaya Jayarati Subramanya Subramanya Kartikeya Jaya Jayarati Venugopala Venugopala Venuola Baba Vidura Navanita Chora Jaya Jayarati Venkanta Ramana Venkanta Ramana Sankata Harana Sita Rama Radhe Shama Jaya Jayarati Gauri Manohara Gauri Manohara Bhavani Sankara Samba Sadashiva Uma Maheshwara Jaya Jayarati Raja Rajeshwari Raja Rajeshwari Tripura Sundari Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Mahashakti Jaya Jayarati Anjaneya Anjaneya Hanumanta Jaya Jayarati Dattatreya Dattatreya Trimutri Avatara Jaya Jayarati Adityaya Adityaya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarati Sanistaraya Sanistaraya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarati Sankarachaya Sankarachaya Advaita Gurave Jaya Jayarati Sadgurunata Sadgurunata Shivananda Jaya Jayarati Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Jaya Jayarati Agastya Munaye Agastya Munaye Shirama Priyaye Jaya Jayarati Ayapa Swamine Ayapa Swamine Dharma Shastave Jaya Jayarati Jesus Gurave Moses Gurave Buddha Gurave Jaya Jayarati Muhammad Gurave Guru Nanak Gurave Samastya Guru Bho Namaha Jaya Jayarati Venugopala. Om Natatra Suyobati Natandrakartam Nima Vidyobati Kotoya Magni Twameva Bantamidabandi Sarvam Tasya Basya Samidam Bibanti Om Yange Kayamune Kaiva Govari Saraswati Narmate Surikaveri Namastitam Namo Namaha. Twameva Mata Chapita Twameva Twameva Bandisha Saka Twameva Twameva Vidya Javinam Twameva Twameva Sarvam Mama Diva Diva Kayina Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmanava Prakriti Sabhavad Karomi Adyad Mangalam Parasmahi Narayana iti sarmar payami Sarvadharmam pravichayama mikam savarnam vraja Aham sva sarvapapayo mokshayami ma sucham. Whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my nature, my intellect, or my emotions, all these I dedicate to you. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. It means the world to me. We're going to say one more prayer, a Kaddish, and then we're going to shift off of TikTok and onto Discord. So, I've been having breakfast on Discord with our little community there because it feels a little bit more intimate, and I actually get a chance to talk to you all and learn things about who you are and what your lives are like, and that's really important to me. So we're going to do Kaddish, and then we're going to switch on to Discord, and we can have breakfast on there. There's a link to my Discord server in my bio, so if you want to join us on Discord for breakfast, you can click on that link and join us there. Bloated Barbie, I hope you fix your Discord. I would love to have breakfast with you. The link is not going to be in my bio for very much longer. I have a Patreon page up. It's not public. The link is on my Discord server. It's not publicly available yet because I need to make a good video about it. But I'm going to be releasing the Patreon page very soon, and then the link in my bio will be for Patreon, not Discord. And in order to ask my Discord server, you'll need to become a patron. It's $5 a month to join the Discord server. I do need to monetize this because it's a lot of work to do this every day and to make the kind of content that I do. And so I hope that you all will continue to support me on there when that shift happens. But I'm rolling it out slowly because I want to give as many people opportunities to join the community as needed before I put a paywall up. Because I don't like putting a paywall up. It's not something that I like doing. I wish I didn't have to do that, right? You know, gosh, excuse me. There's something in my throat. Gosh. Sometimes, ooh. Oh no. Where is my voice? Where's my voice? Do you know sometimes I lose my voice? Ah, here it is. Now it's back. Alright. That happens to you a lot. Okay. So, I lost my voice there for a moment. Where was I? I don't want to monetize the Discord server. Like, I really wish I didn't need to. But the server takes up a lot of my time and attention, and it's full of really amazing people. But managing a community space like that, like, it is work. Like, it takes a lot of care and dedication. And so I want to make sure that the people that I am giving my care and attention to are people that also want to support me in a material way, right? Like, it needs to be a reciprocal interaction. So that's why I'm monetizing the Discord server. But I understand that not everybody has $5 a month to share, and that, that's okay. We live in a world full of inequality. So I want to give as many people the opportunity as they can to join the Discord server before it gets monetized. So that's why I'm giving this spiel here to you now. I know it's a little bit gratuitous, but it's important. So please join my Discord server if you'd like to have breakfast with me. We're going to have breakfast there every day for a long time to come. And, yeah, so you can switch over to Discord. We're going to do one more prayer today, Kaddish. And the word Kaddish means holy in Hebrew. Let me show you a picture. I love this picture. This is Katesh, right? This sexy goddess with snakes in her hands. So the word Kaddish has a long history. It's my last name. It's like my actual last name. I got it from my partner. Her last name is also Kaddish, as is her parents'. It's a pretty lovely last name, and I researched the history. I was like, oh my god, there's a goddess of sex and death that bears the name Kaddish? Wow! So, the word Kaddish has been associated with death for a very long time. Certainly since at least the time of Isaiah, when he was seeing the destruction of the city of Jerusalem in his hallucinatory prophetic eye, and the angels were covering the image of God, and they were chanting, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. So we will say Kaddish for all of those people who died yesterday of coronavirus. And feel free to enter names of those you are grieving for any reason in the chat. We'll say Kaddish for all those who died and continue to suffer from forces of death and injustice that have plagued the living since our lineage began 3.8 billion years ago, and will continue to cause us to suffer until all life is done. And for the last 2,500 years, my ancestors have been saying the following words in response to death. Yidgadal vidgadash shemei rabba, b'yama divrach yute b'yamlich mal chute, b'chayachon uv'yamachon uv'chayed kol beit Yisrael, b'gala u'izran kariv v'imru, amen. Yehe shemei rabba me'v'arach li'olam olmei olmaya, yidbrach v'ishtabach v'yidba'ar v'yirmam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha baruchu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechimata, t'yamiran b'yama v'imru, amen. Yehi Shlamai Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru Amin. O say Shalom B'imramav. Hu Ya'a say Shalom Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru Amin. O say Shalom B'imramav. Hu Ya'a say Shalom Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru Amin. Yes, you can ask a question. And yes, we can say Kaddish for those who died in Afghanistan. We can say Kaddish for those who died anywhere and everywhere. Kaddish is for everyone. And I like it when it's interactive. I like it when people remind me of people to say Kaddish for. Yes, Discord is a much safer space. A so much safer space. That's like why I like hanging out there. So, we're going to switch onto Discord now. We're going to switch onto Discord. Here, I can show you what the Discord looks like.